What is up, everybody? I am Impendingduff. Welcome back to the Quick Tip series. I'm rolling on along with the washes here. Last week we covered regular acrylic washes, so now I figured why not release the oil wash one? So if you're new to Quick Tips, this video was actually shot over about a year and a half ago for my Patreon. I do a weekly video tutorial. Every Wednesday I release a new tutorial on Patreon, and it's kind of exclusive to Patreon for at least a year. And then I'm going to start trickling them out here on YouTube for the public because after a year, why not, right? So I'm going to cover the basics of oil washing today. It's really kind of a compound of what you saw in Quick Tip 12 with acrylic washes. I'm focusing on clear coating the miniature. It's not necessary to clear coat with oil washes, but in my opinion, I think of clear coating or varnishing as kind of like a save point where it's like a video game, I just beat the level 35 dungeon boss, whatever. Now I need to save it so I don't lose all my progress. That's kind of how I see varnish in a lot of situations throughout my paint job. So I choose to varnish. There are many other reasons why I choose to varnish, which you can find out about in Quick Tip 12. I'll try and put the little box thingy, but I'm not super YouTube savvy. So anyway, check out the video here. We'll go over the basics of oil washes. The one thing that I'm going to change that I say in the video is that I don't use basic oils anymore. I use kind of higher grade oils. The reason being is higher grade oils have a finer grind on the pigment, meaning it's closer to like a talcum powder. This is not the actual consistencies, but it's closer to like a talcum powder consistency where more student grade oils are kind of like a sand coarse grind, Obviously, like I said, that's not the actual consistency, but trying to give you a visual representation in your mind's eye. So I do focus on higher grade oils now. This is like a year and a half later. I use Gamblin, Abtalung, which I actually sell on my website. You can check out at impendingduff.com. But I'll let the video speak for itself, gang. Appreciate you checking it out. If you're enjoying the series, hit the subscribe button and check out the links down below to pick up any of your hobby needs. I now sell AK Interactive. I almost said AK-47s. I wish I sold AK-47s. That'd be pretty neat. But AK, I sell Vallejo, Abtalung, and I'm starting to bring in some MIG products as well. So check out my web store as well. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the quick tip, and I hope it helps you do some badass painting. All right, gang. Welcome to quick tip number 13 over here on the Patreon. Today, I'm going to talk to you about oil washes. I'm going to try and make this one quick. Typically, I'm reserving oil washes for more mechanical situations, but I'm trying to kind of use them a little bit more. So I was doing this little test on some of the old Kill Team terrain, and it's real basic, no super detail or anything, but I've gone ahead and I gloss coated this last night, so it's had about 12 hours to cure. You don't have to gloss coat if you're oil washing, but for this, I don't want it to stain the very top kind of smooth surfaces, so I strictly want this wash to reach all of the deep crevassiers. Build up however you want. This video is not about getting to this, it's about doing the wash itself. So I like to save, pizza night, we get little cups of marinara or whatever with our bread, and I save those, wash them out, and reuse them. We're big on reusing, recycling in this house, but this is a pigment fixer / oil thinner from one of my sponsors. It's actually a prototype, so I've been testing this out and giving them feedback. That typically I will use something like white spirits, mineral spirits, etc. That works great, but any oil works. I wouldn't really go for like your high-end oils. I would go more for your cheaper oils, but Generally, when I'm doing something like, say, a night, Vince Venturella taught me a little technique in the class that I took with him. It's a mixture of 3 different colors, and I'm going to kind of lean towards the brown on this one. This is burnt umber. I've got ivory black, and then phthalo blue, or however this is said, phthalo blue. I don't know. It's a deep, deep blue. Typically, if I'm doing steels, I'm adding the blue. I'm leaning heavy on the black with, I'd say, 2 parts to 1 brown, 2 parts black to 1 part brown, and then like a quarter of the blue, just a tinge to kind of give it that steel sheen. Now, there is some steel on this, so I'm not super worried about the steel getting that sheen, so I'm actually going to kind of leave the blue out this time. And I'm going to lean more towards the actual brown because I like the dingier tone to it. So this is, I don't know, I took 4 pipettes full. This is about 4 milliliters. It doesn't really matter. You're going to mix it up to however you see fit, right? So I'm going to lean towards the brown a little bit more, and I'm just going to kind of mix up a wash here, and I'm really not going to worry too much about perfect ratios or anything. Once you get the wash mixed, you'll see the consistencies, but that's about 2 knobs of brown to about, maybe this is going to be 4 to 1. I'm going to lean heavily towards brown. 3 to 1. I think it's 3 to 1. Again, brand doesn't matter. My dear friend Lynn Stahl gave me these Master Touch oils about 1.5 years ago at Adepticon. Just get in there, stir it up, right? And check your consistencies. It's going to take a second to kind of break it down. You really want a nice wash consistency, but see those chunks are still in there? So you got to break all those down. Oh, and I'm using a synthetic brush. This is actually a really good synthetic brush, but a cheap synthetic brush is better. And there's still a little bit more brown than I like in this, so I'm probably going to add just a little dab of black back in there, kind of deepen this up. Right now, it's too tan for my flavor, right? If I were doing something like, I did a gray prime over an ivory, with ivory over it. If I had did just straight ivory, like out of a rattle can, then I probably would have stuck with the brown influence, but I really want to darken this up. So now I'm going about 2 parts to 1 here with the black, 2 parts being the brown, of course. But I just want it to have a little bit of deep, dark color to it. There you go. That's what I'm talking about right there. It's going to darken that brown up a little bit. And for those of you who are used to using traditional acrylic washes, these are going to take a considerable amount of time compared to your acrylic washes. You can still do this with acrylic. You can clear coat it and it'll get into the recesses, but it's the post cleanup that's really going to set this apart. I kind of swish it around, make sure that there's no chunks in there, and then begin the magic. So you get your piece, and this is the real technical part, guys. Ready? Just slap it on there. Now notice, one of the nice things about oil washes here is if you just kind of dab it, I'm trying to find a good area if you just dab it, you see it kind of filling that crack in. You don't have to go crazy on all of the smooth surfaces. You can just dab this along and it'll find its way into the cracks. But this is a blown up, war-torn, apocalyptic building. So I'm getting this stuff all over the place. I'm going to fill up every nook, every cranny. So just keep working it in there. And this stuff goes a long way, so don't be afraid to kind of dip and pull and move it around. And then we'll come back in a little bit and I'll show you after I've waited and let this dry for a little bit. We'll show you the follow-up technique. All right, gang. once you get it good and washed out, it'll be pretty gross, pretty useless, right? It'll be not looking as great as it should, but you let this sit aside for about an hour or two. Probably an hour will do it with a wash this thin. And then we'll come back and we'll do some cleanup on it to really kind of bring it to life, give it some detail. But if you see any unusual pooling here, I'll just kind of soak it back up with the brush, wipe it off on a paper towel, and just keep repeating that. You know, you don't want too much of a pool here. One, it's never going to dry. Two, it's just going to be kind of too much, if you will, too much color. So I'll just kind of come in and soak up any of those pools, and then I set it aside to dry for about an hour. Again, this is not going to set up and be good until maybe about 12 to 24 hours, but it's well worth the results when it's done. So I'll come back in about an hour and I'll show you how we're going to clean this up and bring it to the next kind of tier, if you will. So stick around. We'll be right back. All right, gang. So it's been about an hour. You can see that it appears to be dry. The wash appears to be dry for the most part, but just by using my finger, you can see that it is not. It is still very much wet. This is going to be to our advantage that we're going to be able to wipe away essentially all the flat surfaces, and all of the nooks and crannies and crevassiers are going to hold on to that oil and give us the definition that we're looking for. You can see all this mottling down here? That's how you know that it's starting to dry and cure, but it's not quite there yet. So simple, really, method here is just kind of take a paper towel or some like makeup sponges or whatever and just take it and wipe in a downward motion, okay? And that'll remove that oil and get most of this schmutz off of the model, right? But it'll keep it nice and dirty, kind of still leave that war-torn look to it. But all of these raised surfaces are going to get cleaned up. I'll use the corner here, and it'll kind of also work to your advantage in that it'll create somewhat of a streaking effect, if you will, in certain areas. If you're having certain troubled areas, you can actually get in there with a Q-tip with a little bit of your thinning, you know, if you're using Gamsol, white spirits, whatever, you grab a little bit of a Q-tip for some of these troublesome areas if you need to, and just kind of work around it. If it's really just you waited too long by accident, whatever the reason is, and things are being a little stubborn, just take the Q-tip and dip it in some of your spirits, right? And just be careful with it, because this stuff will go quick. But remember to always keep moving in a downward motion. That way it'll clean up most of these surfaces, but it won't take it out of the recesses. See, there's quite a bit in there, so I kind of want to just work it away where it just stays in those cracks and crevices. Now, of course, it will kind of destroy the Q-tip over time, so just use it until you're not happy with it anymore. I can live with a little bit of floss here. It's not going to kill me, but just keep working the edges and keep working around the model like this, and you'll see it starts cleaning it up really nice real quick. Get rid of some of that shite. Just keep kind of going through there and working it away. And eventually the model will get to a place where it's really nice and clean, but all these cracks and crevices have that detail that you're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead. You can see the difference here between the two sides, but I'm going to go ahead and finish this up off screen, and then I'll show you the end result and a couple of closing thoughts. So I've worked it with the paper towel, the Q-tip, and then I forgot to mention you can also use like a makeup applicator, something similar to this, to get into some of the areas. You can get like 1,000 of these on Amazon for like $8. But anyway, the point is, work the oil wash off of the piece to your desire, to your needs. The nice thing about oil washes that I really like is it kind of brings in these inherent streaks without using streaking grime. Streaking grime is typically an enamel product, but it's neither here nor there. It gives the whole overall piece a really nice weathered look. And if you look at these metallics, even though the colors are off for silver metallics, this is more of a grimy color, you can see the effect that it does on metallics. And you can also use an oil wash just to kind of hit one of these crevassiers, and it'll use capillary action and expand, and you can use it for a great panel liner. So the effects are really, really nice on these. I really enjoy them. They're simple to make, simple to use, and as you can see, the effects are killer. So this will look great on a tabletop. I'll give this 24 to 48 hours to fully cure, even though it'll be fine in 24 hours. I'm weird and I wait 48 because I have kind of a moist basement, very humid basement. So I'm going to leave this to sit a little bit and then just clear coat like normal. Depending on how much it's going to get used, since it's terrain, it's going to get beat up pretty significantly. So I'll probably give it 2 or 3 coats of gloss and let that cure for another 24 hours, and then hit it with a matte coat and then re-gloss some of the metallic depending on how much I want it to be shinier still. I kind of worked a lot of that oil off of the copper. I still want it to have a little bit of shine to it. So finish to your needs and, pop it on the table. This is something you can use on actual miniatures. You can use these on Space Marines. You can use this on Imperial Knights. You can use oil washes till the sun goes down. And I encourage you all to try many, many different ways, and feel free to show me how you guys use them. I'd love to see the applications. All right, guys, until next time, thank you so much. We'll catch you next week.